Hi, I'm Cassandra Hope. I'm a Tantra facilitator, and I'm going to answer the questions: what is Tantra? What is Neo-Tantra? Is it a sexual practice? And the 4 things that you should know before booking a tantric session. Hi, I'm Cassandra Hope. I'm a Tantra facilitator, and I'm going to answer the questions: what is Tantra? What is Neo-Tantra? Is it a sexual practice? And the 4 things that you should know before booking a tantric session. BritishMuseum.org states the Sanskrit word for Tantra derives from the verbal root tan, meaning to weave or compose, and refers to a type of instructional text, often written as a dialogue between God and Goddess. This meaning of weaving leaves a big open space for interpretation, so if you have a hard time understanding what Tantra is through online searches, this is probably the reason why. Tantra is the understanding that all things are sacred and have a duality, but this duality is like 2 sides of the coin. The duality, when accepted as part of each other, is actually oneness. So would safety exist without danger? Would light exist without dark? Would life exist without death? Happiness without sadness? So within this duality is oneness if we can see both sides as one energy. This is also referred to as being awakened, enlightened, or wholeness. So if you accept the light but not the dark, or accept life but not death, you are in resistance to this oneness. This is why I've made so many videos about shadow work. Understanding and accepting our shadow self brings us closer to this oneness or wholeness, awakening, or enlightenment. There are many different versions of Tantra. One that has gained much popularity in the US is called Neo-Tantra. Neo-Tantra is a more sexually focused Tantra. Tantra teaches that everything is divine by nature. This includes sex. The body is a living temple, and it is celebrated. Lovemaking is one of the most powerful tools for transcending the physical level to reach a state of bliss. But Tantra is not exclusively sexual. In fact, sex is not really referred to in a majority of the Tantra teachings. It is merely one of the many tools used on the path to enlightenment. But the popularity grew a few decades ago when spiritual travelers in search of knowledge went to India. They were shocked to find that these sexual practices intertwined with the spiritual practices. These were mostly Christian travelers, so they brought back only what stood out to them, the sexual practices. And so became the rise of Neo-Tantra. Now, Neo-Tantra is Tantra, but Tantra is not just what you learn about Neo-Tantra. Considering how much sex is repressed in the United States, I feel the U.S. owes a great deal of gratitude to these travelers for at least bringing us what we needed: sexual liberation. Neo-Tantra practices help heal guilt, shame, and fear surrounding our sexuality. This is why it is the most practiced version of Tantra in the U.S. One way that Tantra helps heal through our sexuality is when we have religious, Puritan, or sexist upbringings. In childhood, when we become sexually curious, we are quickly reminded of how sinful sex can be. This can create a wall between our raw sexual pleasure and the version our loved ones know. We become dual. And once we've created this duality, we often continue creating even more duality in other areas of our life. This plays out in feeling like you have 2 or more versions of yourself, maybe one for work, one for home, one when you're out with your friends. Now, everyone acts a little bit differently at work than you will at home, or with your friends versus, say, your boss. But many times we create a character that is not an authentic version of ourselves. In childhood, many times we create a version that mom and dad approve of, and we may create a version that our friends approve of, and on and on. It is exhausting to be inauthentic, and life feels more stressful as our authentic self is crying to be seen. Often, people don't even realize they have been doing this until it shows up later in life through anxiety, depression, and sexual dysfunction. Tantra brings you back into non-duality and into a state of oneness, teaching you to embrace all of you in non-duality. When we live authentically by integrating all of these versions of ourselves together, life takes on new meaning and a sense of true purpose. So how do we integrate all of these aspects of ourselves? Well, by first getting to know who they are and what function they play in our lives. The best way to do this is through shadow work, along with unique tantric practices. These tantric practices help you to tune in to how your body stores, feels, and expresses its feelings and emotions. You learn to express your authentic self, and by doing this, you gain an opening into healing these dual parts of you and integrating them into your true, authentic self. If this is something that you want to learn, look for a Tantra facilitator near you or a trusted online teacher. Simply Google Tantra near me and see what pops up. As you are searching, trust your intuition. Do you feel drawn to this practitioner? If not, keep looking. A feeling of connection will help you obtain the best practice. So what happens in a tantric session? That depends. Some teach via video. Some teach in person. Others engage themselves more in practices, from massage all the way to intimacy surrogates. You should always expect to be warmly welcomed and have a feeling of connection with your facilitator. After all, they are teaching you a practice that, at its very least, helps you connect with more ease. And so, what 4 things should you know before going to a tantric session? You don't have to have any prior knowledge, but here are some helpful things so that you can understand the practice even further. Number 1, you should gain a basic knowledge of your energy centers or chakras. You will be referring to them in your practice. Number 2, learn about the masculine and feminine, or Shiva Shakti, understanding that we all have both a masculine and feminine side to us. Number 3, educate yourself on the nervous system and how it operates. And number 4, be aware of any past traumas that you may have experienced, since these are what most commonly create the duality in the first place. And last, go with an open mind. You will experience something new if you keep an open mind through this whole process.